With all the boundless arrogance and enthusiasm of youth, I let out a silent shout. I'm going. I'll show him. I'll show them all.
Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Our guest today is the author of this lovely book right here. Let me get there so you guys can see it. It is called The Geography of Desire, a Memoir of West Africa by Linda Gambill. And let me just read you guys a little bit about Linda before we welcome her to the show. Let's see. Linda has been a therapist at a state psychiatric hospital, a Peace Corps volunteer, a nationally exhibited photographer, and a teacher of English as a second language. Her writing has appeared in Persimmon and Parhelion Literary. A fellow of the Hambidge Center, she lives in Tennessee with her husband and their talkative rescue cat. Linda, welcome to the show. We are so very excited to talk to you about your book.
Well, thank you. I am excited to talk to you about my book because it's like we were just talking earlier. It's really cool to talk to people who read the book but knew nothing about me or my story before reading the book. It's a very different take sometimes.
Yeah, it's such a good book. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see, but I underlined a bunch of stuff in there. I underlined a bunch and wrote in the margins and all that stuff. So, yeah.
I feel honored and flattered. And wow, I mean, I do that to books sometimes and it's like, yeah, I don't know anybody's ever done that with my book.
Yeah.
Well, today, two of us have.
Oh,
yep, absolutely.
You. I really enjoyed the book. I just want to start with that. I thought it was very well written, but I also thought it was fun to read. It was informative. You did a really nice job with it. I also was in the Peace Corps, so I had some personal motivation to read it, which brought up so much for me. But I am really interested in, why did you want to go into the Peace Corps and how did that start for you?
I think the first time I thought about going into the Peace Corps, I think I was 14. And I think it was probably from a TV ad. They had this ad, you remember the jingle, the toughest job you'll ever love. Okay, this was before your time.
Yeah, I actually don't remember any of that.
It was great. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And my family had lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina when I was 12, just for 6 months. But it was enough for me to realize, well, it's kind of interesting living in other places and seeing how other, learning different languages and stuff. So I think that might be partly why I was so enthusiastic about it at 14. I think my dad told me that they all went, the Peace Corps trainees back then, they did not go and train in their country. They would go to Outward Bound in North Carolina. Well, that was one of the places they would go. And it caught my imagination. They would have to rappel down a dam. And I thought,
oh my God,
wow. And I said, why would they have to do that? And he said, well, just to give them the confidence that they can do these difficult things that they don't usually do. And I just thought, wow, who would I be if I could rappel down a dam, because it seemed pretty scary. It just got in my mind that way. And then by the time I was 24, so it's 10 years later, it's the opening part of the book. I talk about where my life was in Knoxville. And I realized I'd had this dream for a long time and I hadn't done anything about it. And things were pretty not going well for me in Knoxville at the time. So I said, this is it. I'm going to go now. So It took me 10 years to get up the courage to do it and to get the maturity.
Do you want to read that passage in your book that kind of speaks about that? Kind of set the stage.
Yeah, set the mood.
Okay. It plays into the Me Too movement a little bit. Too bad we didn't have the Me Too movement when I was.
And with your book, you actually kind of needed some of the Me Too movement.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I really needed it there.
But then again, what woman didn't?
Exactly. What woman doesn't now, too?
Well, yeah, true. But now women know better. Just because something like that happens, like a professor hitting on you, it doesn't mean you're special. Happens all the time, every Tuesday. All right. This was Knoxville, Tennessee, January.
Yay, Tennessee. Whoop, whoop.
Yay. And I never went to a football game. January 1978. It was sleeting the day I decided to go to Africa, But it wasn't the cold that drove me out of Tennessee. My best friend and I were living in a rundown bungalow on the outskirts of Knoxville. Our only source of heat, a wood-burning stove that always went out in the middle of the night. Winters in the South were still cold in 1978, and I woke up freezing. I also needed to pee, but the only way to the bathroom was through my friend's bedroom, where, by the sound of it, she and her boyfriend, who had somehow become my second roommate, were having sex. I would have to hold it or go outside. Well, I threw on my robe and went in the kitchen. As I was shoving kindling into the stove, my philosophy professor wandered in from the living room. I had graduated 2 years earlier, so he wasn't my professor anymore, but he wasn't my friend either. Our relationship was too charged for that, especially after one hot August night in 1974, when he showed up at my apartment with a six-pack of Lowenbrow. After half a beer, I let him dance me into bed, where he proclaimed that I was the only woman he'd ever pursued. And I believed him.
As we all do.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all believed
We
them.
all fall for it.
Yeah. When we first met, the attraction between us was so electric, my body had lit up from across the room. Nothing like that had ever happened to me. I was only 18, and I thought it had to mean something. It took my adolescent brain about 2 seconds to figure out what. The professor and I were fated to spend the rest of our lives together.
And thank God you didn't.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
No one could have told me then that my sense of destiny sprang not from some divine plan, but rather from my need for a stable future after my parents' hostile divorce. It didn't bother me that the professor, who was almost twice my age, was living with his girlfriend, who, like me, had been one of his students, while still married to his wife. I figured it was only a matter of time before the stars would align, pushing those other women out of the picture so he and I could live in a cozy log cabin where we would bake bread, make love, and talk about philosophy deep into the night. Well, what actually happened was this. He divorced his wife and stayed with his girlfriend, every now and then circling back to me. The man had some kind of radar. As soon as he started fading from my mind, he would call and ask me out for a beer, and thinking that this was it, the long-awaited moment when he would declare his love for me, I always went. But that moment never arrived. What did arrive, on my doorstep late the previous evening, was the professor. For the second time in our long acquaintance, the first having been that hot August night in '74, he came running to me after a fight with his girlfriend. I didn't turn him away. I never turned him away. But this unannounced visit provoked a surprising surge of resentment in me. I handed him a quilt and showed him to the couch, and now here he was, standing in my kitchen in the early morning light, all matted curls and sleepy eyes, complaining that the living room was so cold he hadn't been able to sleep. I almost crawled into bed with you, he said. Anger shot through my belly. How about getting the stove going? That'll warm you up. Whoa, why so sharp? I yanked on my boots, grabbed my hat, and went outside. As I squatted in the woods behind the house, sleet pinged in the hemlocks, and the anger burning in my stomach barreled up my throat. I was paying half the rent on a place with 3 people living in it, but I was the one relieving myself in the yard with ice raining on my head. This wasn't the first time I'd done it, but it was the first time I saw myself doing it. This small insight led to a larger, long overdue one. There was nothing for me here. I stood up and hugged myself for warmth. All my friends were starting careers, getting married, leaving for bigger cities. And what did I have? A job teaching psychiatric patients how to make tile trivets and clay pots, a nightly marijuana habit, and whatever crumbs the professor tossed my way. He didn't want me, or he wanted someone else more, but he kept inserting himself into my life. I had to get away, far away. I didn't have a compelling reason to move to Boston or Chicago, but I'd been dreaming of joining the Peace Corps since I was 14. I was now 24. Smoke curled from the chimney, white against the pewter sky. The professor must have gotten the stove going. He was handy with things like that. A cardinal landed in a nearby pine, and the sleet changed to snow, the flakes so fat I could almost make out their shapes. Crystallizing, the world held its breath. My toes were freezing, and my hat was glazed with sleet, but my face burned with excitement as my future unfolded in my mind. I would be in charge of my life, traveling the globe and helping others and meeting fascinating people who found me fascinating. With all the boundless arrogance and enthusiasm of youth, I let out a silent shout. I'm going. I'll show him. I'll show them all.
Yeah.
So,
and that you did.
yes, that day, after the professor cleared out, well, it was probably a weekend, maybe the next day, I got on the phone and called the Peace Corps and asked for an application.
I have to say, like Jennifer, I very much enjoyed your book. So much. Going into this, I knew very little about the Peace Corps, and even less, which would be zero, about the Gambia. Had no idea. I really appreciate the way that you wrote the book with like all of the detail about the program and where you were and the village, and like the way that you even described the village and the nearby cities and people and their huts and like all this stuff. Like you painted a very, very clear picture of what your life was like as a Peace Corps volunteer in the Gambia in 79/81/82. And so I thoroughly appreciate that. I learned so much from this book. And it seems to me that you did what you set out to do, although with some, some like fits and starts and some glitches and some sadness and frustration along the way. But I mean, and I think this about both of you, about you and Jennifer, for having gone into the Peace Corps. You two were very brave. In my opinion, I mean, that was very brave. I mean, just reading this, I was like, nope, I couldn't have done it. I could not have done it. I could not have done it. And I kind of knew that back in my youth when I thought, oh, that would be the time that I could not have.
Yeah.
And the scene where you talk about like hanging your laundry out to dry and then you have to iron everything because of the little critters. Yeah. I literally
wrote
flies. Yeah, I actually
wrote kind of a bot fly.
Yeah, I actually wrote in the margin, I was like, that's why I can't do the Peace Corps. Like I literally wrote, I am a priss. There's no way I could not have handled that. I would have gone home immediately. I just want to say, I just think that took a lot of guts. I hope that you give yourself credit for that. Because I think that was very brave.
When I went back in 97, which was in the book, I really did realize then, wow, I did this. And I thought, at the time I was castigating myself for kind of melting down. The hard part for me wasn't the tumbo flies or the lack of electricity. It was just the loneliness and the isolation that lasted for quite a while, until I really, they tell you it takes 6 months just to even know if you're going to be able to serve your full 2 years. When my group arrived in the Gambia, we were all asked, actually, before we went, please just give it 6 months because things do start to change. And they do. If you work on language, then by about 6 months, you hit your stride and you can start having conversations with people and making friends, and the relationships do change. But for me, that was the hardest part, just the isolation and the loneliness.
Tell us your Wolof name.
In the book, I call myself Satu Sila. But that's a pseudonym. My actual name was Seinabu Jallo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I liked it. I like that name a lot. I miss being called Seinabu. Seinabu was the fourth daughter. I think she was one of the daughters of the Prophet Muhammad. And so in the Middle East, they pronounce it Zainab. But somehow in West Africa, it became Zainabu.
What were your first few days in the village like for you?
My first few days were fine. I was busy unpacking and setting up my house, and some little girls came over to help me, and they were super cute and very helpful. Just, I don't know about you in your village, but I was always amazed by how much work the kids did. It made me think of something a professor said to me once, that here we treat our children like pets. We don't expect them to really do anything, to contribute. Not so in Africa. So they were really helpful. And I was just kind of going around, and everybody was coming to greet me, and I was saying hi. And I think it only took me about a week that I started to melt down and just figure, what have I done? What have I done here? I mean, this is a weird place.
Yeah.
It was just like, you go from Knoxville, Tennessee, with a huge university, to a community of 400 where the whole point of life revolves around Islam. There's this very fancy mosque amidst all these very humble houses, and there's a Quranic school on every corner. By Quranic school, I don't even mean a building. I mean a fire that the little boys, mostly boys, gathered around at night memorizing the Quran. There were like 7 schools in this tiny village, and
wow.
The religious holidays were very important. The women didn't pray as much as the men did because they had work to do. They weren't, women in Islam, women are excused from this praying 5 times a day business because it might interfere with,
because they're doing everything else.
Yeah,
they're literally doing everything else.
Yeah, they're doing everything else. So it was very quiet. The guy who was in charge of the village, his name was Alaji Baba. He was a Marabu, which meant he was a Muslim cleric, and he was also a mystic. And he was very learned and very respected, and he was known for his power of intercessionary prayer. So he was also quite wealthy, because people would come to him, like if they couldn't conceive a child, or I don't know what all they went to him with, but in personal problems like that.
Right.
Apparently he could pray and things would get better. And he had quite a reputation. So he set all the rules for the village, and one of the rules was no drumming and dancing, which just devastated. You have drumming and dancing in your village? Yeah. It just looked like so much fun, and just such a part of the culture. I really felt cheated. I was stuck in this place where all they did was pray.
My guess is every volunteer on some level feels cheated because there's no experience that's the same. And we all get blessed in some ways and cheated in some ways.
True.
I want to read something really quickly and then ask you a quick question, and then Raquel, I can tell you we're ready. So on page 131, this is actually my favorite part of the book because I identify with this so deeply. You said, my African fantasy had been drying up ever since I arrived in Medina, but it died in that rain. The Gambia was just a slice of river, savanna, and sky, not the magical green cape I had imagined, ready to swoop me up into a brilliant future. Flat as a hand, she knifed off half her children before they turned 5. What made me think she would give a damn about me? And
I underlined that part too.
It made me really reflect on some of the, I don't know if privilege is the right word, or I don't know if white saviorism is the right word, but some of like my own idea of going to Africa to help people that I know nothing about.
Right.
Like I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just a kid. And it made me really reflect on that. Can you talk a little bit more about your feelings and how you got there?
Yeah, well, I knew at some level, I knew it would not be easy, because before we went, our group was the first group of health volunteers. It was a brand new program, and we were the first group to be sent in larger numbers to the bush. So we had a pre-invitational staging in Chicago, and so they went over all the hardships and all the stuff. And So, I knew intellectually that it would be difficult. And we were told, don't expect much. You're supposed, on the one hand, you're supposed to be an agent of change. On the other hand, don't expect much because these are very traditional cultures and they're slow to change. So there was that. I wanted to help people. I had been in the helping professions, in my short life. That's all I had done up to that point. I also had this very kind of naive and, in a way, arrogant sense that somehow, like, white girl goes to Africa and gets saved kind of thing.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that came up for me when I was reading the book, and I was wondering about that. So I'm glad we're talking about that right now.
And it could be a Black girl too. I mean, there were Black volunteers as well. Let's just say American girl.
Yeah.
And what in the world made me think that? I don't, I think it was just being young. We have this kind of, I don't know about y'all, but when I was in my 20s, I had a very romantic outlook on the world. That's how I got entangled with a professor. I thought we were like, so I think it was part of that idea that, I'm going to find my destiny here. And it was just bound to disappoint because Africa is not an easy place.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. It's a challenging place. There's just so much instability there. There's poverty, and wherever you have a lot of poverty, you're going to have political instability. There's disease. There's just graft and corruption so that services don't get to where they need to be. But I didn't know all that then. I'd been to Morocco, and I'd had a great time getting high in Morocco. I just thought, well, that's cool. I'm going to go find out more about Africa. And so it was just a very romantic fantasy. But the good thing about Africa is it will quickly disabuse you of your fantasies. Very quickly.
Yeah.
You were really facing a kind of an unvarnished reality there. I think maybe for really rich people or something, it's different. They're buffered, but living in a little village, it's pretty in your face. This is it. This is reality.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do now?
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly I stand by what I said before, that the two of you were incredibly brave to have gone it.
Or naive.
Or we didn't know what we were getting into.
Or both. I mean,
it was brave.
Both can be true at the same time.
Yeah, right? Naive and brave and stubborn. Like, I did not want to fail.
Yeah.
I did not want to fail at this. And I talked about that. I just felt that would be the end of my life if I failed at this. So I was really stubborn.
Yeah, that part of your book really triggered me when you talked about that, because I did leave early. I left after, I think I was in country about 11 months when I left. And right after I finished your book, the next morning I woke up and wrote about it. I wrote a story about why I really left. And your book was actually kind of pivotal in helping me get a little bit more into the depth of my shame around that, but also why I really needed to do that.
Why did you need to do that? Why did you leave?
Oh, I don't think we have time.
You don't want to get into that. Well, let me read your story someday.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah. I don't think we have time, but it stems back to some childhood sexual trauma.
I see.
Yeah. Like how you got broken open and your
grief I can imagine.
The grief
about your mother.
And your parents' divorce and messy marriage.
Same thing. I didn't even know I had the childhood sexual abuse. So that was the beginning of my opening.
Oh my gosh.
And I didn't know that for years, really. But this is about your book.
Yeah, that must have been really, I could see why you would have left. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people in my group left early. I think about a quarter of them arrived in March, and by Christmas, I think about a quarter of them were gone. One girl left in training. She just said, no, I'm gone.
That would have been me.
A lot of our people left in training. In fact, Raquel, what I find kind of interesting about our group is that most of the Black women left in training because they had a different African fantasy.
Exactly. It can be really hard for African Americans. My understanding, there weren't any in my group, but the group that came after me, there was one volunteer who was African American, and she did really fine. But my understanding was that they kind of expect like a homecoming kind of sense of feeling. And nope, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And the Africans are confused too. The Gambians are like, well, wait a minute. I guess they knew there were Black people in the States, but
we're very
you're not too Bob. Where's your white skin?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like,
kind of in between.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're like a totally different thing entirely, right? Like when you really sit and think about it, and I get that. I did like a little genealogy thing and kind of found out like where, my DNA is from and, that kind of thing. And I have this fanciful idea that I would go to, Benin and Togo.
Where is your DNA? Where does it go back to?
A part of it's from Benin and Togo. And I kind of think that maybe that's just because that's where the port was that the slavery, most of the enslaved people came out of. So that's what I really think it is. I don't know if I actually have any Benin and Togo ancestry, but like I have this fanciful idea that, I'm gonna go to Africa and people are gonna be like, "You're home." And that's not gonna happen, right? Or that I'm gonna feel some kinship to all these people. And whereas I really feel that I would probably go and be like, "Oh, I am a fish out of water. I don't fit."
We're all a fish out of water there. Right. We all are.
Yeah. It takes a while to slide into it for sure.
I still come back to, I don't really have mixed feelings about the Peace Corps now. I really kind of come back to, why did we think we actually had the right to do that? To be dropped into a village. And then my goal was to do something to save them.
Oh yeah, those fantasies too.
Right.
I'm gonna the midwives, I'm gonna stop them from doing, when I'm gonna get them just washing their hands.
To wash their hands, to use soap
like
when they wash their hands.
Oh yeah, fantasies of the healthcare hero, I called it. But those go away pretty quickly because you're in Africa, and Africa just goes, no, slash it down, slash it down.
I realized that really for me in my village, I realized rather quickly that they were keeping me alive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They were, absolutely. They were.
There was no me surviving without them.
Yeah. But I think Peace Corps come under a lot of criticism lately as kind of some like post-colonial thing, and I don't see it that way. I think that it's I think the Peace Corps is a really good thing. The volunteers who go over there are generally
altruistic.
They're optimistic. They want to help, and you help to a varying degree. But the thing that is so great, I mean, there's these Americans that you're going over there, and you're learning at a really, really grassroots level about the culture. And then you come back here, and when I was in Peace Corps, the third goal of Peace Corps was to bring it back home and tell people about it. Which is one of the reasons I wanted to write the book. I wanted people to know about the villagers in Medina and who they were as people, and not just, oh, there's another famine or there's another coup d'etat. These are real people with real lives, and they want a lot of the same things we want. So, and they're funny and witty, and man, they're just, I get really steamed when people talk about poor people being lazy. It's like,
hardest
you wouldn't be able to keep up with these people. No, you would not. You would not.
No,
so I think overall Peace Corps is a good thing, and I think most volunteers do realize in very short order, and they're often told that before they go, you're going to learn more from the people you're living with than they're going to learn from you.
Right.
And it's true.
That kind of brings me to my question. And first, I just want to say that I think you did an amazing job of humanizing isn't the right word, but I think like fully fleshing people out, right?
Individualizing them. They're also,
exactly. So you get a real sense from your book of each individual person. It's not just this collective of Africans. These are actual individual people with,
for sure.
with all their differences and feelings and all the things. And I think you did a really good job with that. The part about being in the Peace Corps and going there and having one idea going in and then coming out with a totally different idea. Who do you think got more out of the experience of being in the Peace Corps? You or the people in the village that you lived with or that you lived among?
Well, probably in an intangible way, I did. My project that I did, that I finally hit on this idea of something that they would actually go for, is, well, as far as I know, it's still there. It was still there in 97. I was very happy with that because it was tangible, it was helpful, it was sustainable. I didn't have to be there, and you didn't need any kind of weird Western machinery that's going to break down and you don't have parts for, that kind of thing. But intangibly, for me, my God, I mean, I changed more than they did. Being there made me a much better person, and it just changed the way I see the world. I did not change the way they see the world.
Right.
I mean, we would have discussions about things and they'd go, oh, that's crazy. Like, whatever. I wasn't changing anybody's mind about anything. But they changed the way I see the world. Like every time I go into a doctor's office, I think about that clinic where I worked and how and it has improved. The clinic has come along, but it's just like, it's like that in so many places of the world. I always feel very privileged. I am privileged and grateful that I have the kind of healthcare I have. I think a lot of Americans have weird ideas about poverty.
Yeah.
And
even poverty,
they're weird. They're actually mainstream ideas about poverty that people are, and in some cases they might be true, but you can't generalize to everybody that poverty is because people have made poor choices. Well, there have been a lot of poor people throughout human history, and you're going to tell me every single one of those people, they're poor just because they made poor choices. No, or they're lazy, or both. And there's just a lot of shame put around being poor. And in the Gambia, there wasn't that shame like there is here.
Right. And you kind of talk about that. There's like an arc from the beginning to the end of the book where you talk about how you were thinking that the men were just being lazy.
Yeah.
But then toward the end, you're like, oh, I get it. This isn't laziness. This is a system.
Well, in my defense, their women also thought they were just being lazy too.
Okay, that's fair.
It's so funny.
Different work.
Yeah. All the women thought they were being lazy, and men were bored to hell. They're sitting out there on the bantaba. They'd see each other every day, and they were like, So yeah, that was great. It was the men. Initially were not involved in my project, but wanted to be. The women told them, no, you can't. You're just trying to take our money. You go away. This is our business. I'm like, well, maybe we should let them, no. I said, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but then when you went back in 97, you saw that there were men working in there and that the garden was still there.
Yeah. It was so funny.
Yeah.
So somehow the men managed to convince the ladies it would be okay.
Yeah.
And they seemed to all be getting along, so it was cool. Because before that, all the division of labor had been totally separate. There was not any overlap. So that was one little area.
Love it.
They did overlap.
There's one part that I read it, and I want both of you to address it because as I was reading it, I was like, I wonder if Jennifer had this experience too. So on page 267, Linda, you wrote, I was caught off guard by a welling up of tenderness for Medina, something I hadn't felt in my 2 long years of living there. All of my wishing for a deeper emotional connection had gotten me nowhere, and now out of the blue, here it was. Can you talk about that a little bit, Linda, about how you're like, oh crap, I really do have a connection with this place?
Well, for one thing, just seeing it at night, just so different. But also the relationship I had with the fellow named Kabir. It's kind of like when you you fall in love with somebody in a culture, it opens a doorway into that culture. That had been building all along, but by the time I had a relationship with Kabir, it was almost time for me to leave.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really thinking about that, cultivating that. Why would I be cultivating that when I'm just going to be leaving in 3 weeks or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just happened. He was kind of the door through which I had those feelings for individuals in the village
Mm-hmm.
and for children, some of the children I was close to, but not for like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, this place is his place, and it made him who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he was this amazing human being, I just think that's what opened me up that particular night. And it was interesting because when I went back 16 years later in 1997, I felt this sense of belonging immediately. I didn't have to, because I'd been there, I knew the place, and it had changed some, and I had changed some, but it was my village. It was still my village. It's not anymore now. It's changed a lot, but and a lot of the people I know are gone. But yeah, I think it was through the relationship. In fact, in Africa, they had a tradition that when a stranger, they would call a stranger would come to town, and I write about this in the book, and it was usually a man. For whatever reason, he's looking for something new. He goes around, he finds a village, he wants to become part of it. So the village elders would assign him to a family. That was like his into the village. He wasn't just kind of off in a little house by himself. He became immediately a part of a family.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about you, Jennifer? Did you have a similar experience with the village that you lived in?
I think our villages were so vastly different.
How was yours different?
My experience was just what you were saying about the man, Linda. When I was taken out on my visit beforehand, they were planning to put me in a missionary's home. When I saw it, I was like, I don't want to live there, because I did not want to be associated with the church. So I said to the people who were driving me around, I don't want to live there. And so they said, we'll drive you around the villages and you can pick a place. So we drove way out. And when I got there, the children were running around and they were looking at me like something they had never seen in their life. Oh yeah, to Bob all the way. But I was like, okay, this is the place. And that's what happened. I sat with the chief of the village and he talked back and forth to the Peace Corps person. I had no idea what they said. That language was way over my head.
What language did they speak?
We spoke a language called Serer.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most of the people in Senegal speak Wolof. My village did not. I was also in a Catholic village. Most people were in a...
Oh, wow. That is different. Yeah.
It was very different. Like I said, we all have things we feel robbed of. But the chief said, of course she can stay. She's my daughter. And then, he brought me into his family. So he was my father. I had a mother. My brother was perhaps my best friend there. His wife, Mari, and their children became my family. And when I left, they had another daughter. They named her Jennifer.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. And my name in the village was Yasin.
Oh!
Yeah. I felt welcome almost from day one. But I didn't have a school to go to or a job to go to or I wasn't. I had to figure out a project. I had nothing that I was supposed to be doing.
No, there was no health clinic, no school.
Nada.
Yeah, wow.
That would have driven me nuts. I would not
it does drive you nuts.
Well, it did.
Yeah, it does drive you nuts.
That's why I left, dumbass.
Yeah, it's like, how many hours left in the day until I can
Yeah, when are they going to feed me again?
Smoke my cigarettes, read my book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, good question though, Raquel. Good question.
Thank you. So I was sitting on because I know we're probably getting close.
We're getting close. I want to talk about this forever, but
we're getting close. Yeah, absolutely. But so two things. One, I'm a bit of a word nerd, Linda. So when I find passages that I think are beautifully written, I like to call them out. So I'd like to do that if that's okay with you. And then I want to read another passage in your book that I think was so beautiful that actually brought me to tears, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the passage that I thought was just so beautiful, the way that you wrote it, and it was just, I don't know, it just speaking of like romantic, there's just such a there's such a romance to words for me
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And so this passage on page 353, you write, time folded in on itself, and Kabir and I were walking down the road, not only right now, but back then, our younger and older selves merging into each other, back and forth in a fluid dance. Such things are common under the night sky in Africa, where the constellations almost vanish in the blazing thicket of light that stretches back in space to the beginning of time. I
Yeah,
just I
that
just thought
was
that was
a
so beautiful.
moment.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
so beautifully written. I love that passage.
Thank
And
you.
I couldn't let this end without me telling you that. So I wanted to give you your flowers on that.
Thank you.
And then so I was sitting on my patio, finishing the book, and I got to this last passage, and literally brought me to tears. Brought me to tears. And I was sitting on my patio because right now I'm on the first floor. So
Uh-huh.
literally when I'm sitting on my patio, people walking by,
Right.
it's just like I'm on display basically. And I read it, and then I just put my hands over my eyes and I just sat and cried for a little bit.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my my neighbors walked by, and then they
What's
came back
wrong with
again,
you?
and they were like, "Yeah, we were gonna say hi, and we saw you." We're like,
No.
"Welcome back." But anyway, but it wasn't like sad tears. It was just,
Yeah.
anyway. So I just want to read this passage, starting on page 365 and going to page 366. Okay, sorry. If I hadn't been so caught up in my last few moments in Medina, I might have told Hannah that it wasn't only the people I'd missed. It was also what I thought of as the edge, the challenge of adapting to circumstances vastly different from what I was used to. Medina had worked on me. The heat, the loneliness, the star studded sky, the strength and humor of the women, the love, the lust, the dust, the death, the intermingled sounds of Wolof and Fula. All these things demanded that I look closely at myself and the world, that I cultivate flexibility, endurance, and strength, qualities that have helped me even when I forgot I had them. The, the geography of desire is different for everyone. Desire propels us forward, but never lets us know where we'll land. When I left East Tennessee for West Africa, I never expected to end up in a Muslim enclave. I never expected to fall in love with a man from Poland, much less marry him. I never expected that while waiting out a sandstorm in my hut, I would realize that I still wanted what I wanted as a child, to be an artist. If we're lucky, or if we let it, desire will take us not only around the world or into a lasting relationship, but also into our buried sadness and cast aside dreams.
Oh,
So that was so touching to me. And I'm just so, thank you for sharing your story with us and
oh,
being so candid.
thank you for reading it. And I have to say that passage, I had a friend who just recently passed away. We taught English together at the university here in Chattanooga. And she kept saying, Linda, she always said, Linda, you've got this you've got this title, and it's got to be somewhere in the book. This is all books nowadays. They have the title pops up somewhere in the book.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I was done. I had a publisher, and I kept making changes, and they kept, oh, okay, here she comes again. So she just kept insisting, and I finally said, oh, okay. And so I said that was about the last thing I wrote. And
Well,
I'm glad that it resonated with you. But I felt like it was good. It felt like I was glad she kept insisting that I do it, because it pushed me a little, for a lot farther, actually, to kind of think about why I call the book The Geography of Desire,
Mm.
and made me have to think about desire and what it does. And yeah, so it was good that she did that. Bless her heart.
yeah.
Linda,
Well,
was there anything that you wanted to say that we didn't give you a chance to about your book that you wanted to tell the audience?
Um, no, I don't know. I think I did start out writing it as a novel. I always wanted to write a novel, and then I got 3/4 of the way through. This was many years ago, and realized I can't finish it the way it is. It wouldn't be emotionally honest. I got a teacher at the writer's studio in New York City, and I met with her by phone for many years. But early into our relationship, she said, it might need to be a memoir. She didn't put it like that. What did she say? She said the autobiographical part is getting in the way of the fiction, of you really going somewhere with it. So you have to decide if you want to fictionalize it more and take yourself out of it and change the character so she's not you, or do you need to make it a memoir? And I'm like, well, what's a memoir? I had never read a memoir. So she gave me a bunch of memoirs to read, and I realized it needed to be a memoir. So I started over, but in doing it, I really wanted it to read like a novel.
It does.
So
It does.
I used a lot of
I felt like that too.
fiction to keep it, because I think some memoirs can get a little heavy, a little, I don't know, just kind of heavy, and I wanted to keep that fun of it. I wanted it to be fun and entertaining, as well as all the deeper stuff. So. Yeah, and you guys, thank you for having me on and saying such nice things about my book.
Yeah, so
Loved
good.
it.
Yeah,
So good.
and I would
So
love
good.
to hear your story.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
It's just a short story. It's not. It's nothing like this.
Yeah. But it's been great. You guys are so much fun. I've been on some other podcasts that are so serious.
Well, Raquel is a serious editor, so for her to give you the high praise on the book, and quote your words and talk,
yeah,
she is serious in that way.
Yeah, if I did not enjoy your writing, I would not have called out the passage that I said was just very beautifully written, and that wasn't the only one. I mean, there are others. Yeah, it's a really beautifully done book. It's beautifully written. And like I said, I learned a lot reading this. I really did. I appreciate that you put so much informative detail in the book.
Because people don't know about the Gambia. Some people might remember it from Roots, because Alex Haley traced his lineage back to the Gambia. But most people have forgotten about that. It's not really a big part of the story.
Yeah.
So it isn't a very well-known place. But in general, West Africa is not well known. People think of Africa, they think of Kenya, Egypt, South Africa. That's about it.
Yep. But through your book, I am now a little bit more knowledgeable than I was before I started it.
And there's a big Senegalese and Gambian community in Atlanta.
Oh,
yes. And I think it's October, they have a festival.
Huh.
I looked it up because I kind of ran into it. I was visiting my daughter in Atlanta, and we kind of happened upon it. And I went, oh, this is cool. I ate all this great food. And so I looked it up last year, and it was too late. It was like December, but I think the festival is in October. So you could go to that and eat some amazing.
We could all go.
We could.
It would be fun.
It would
nice.
Be so fun.
That would be really fun.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a really big community. I think the festival was in Midtown.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for dredging up my stuff.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Better dredged than fermenting.
Thanks for writing the book. We loved
it.
Thank
you so much, Linda.
Thank you for reading and having me on and saying such nice things.
Of course.
I really appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So Raquel, do you want to recap?
Yeah. You know what? I feel like I need to maybe give a little more explanation maybe for why that last part touched me so much.
Yeah.
I think it's because what I saw in that passage was that even, with the fear of and excitement, sure, but fear of going to a place you had no clue about, right? Like being I mean, yeah, amongst all these people, but essentially very alone and dealing with the loneliness. But Linda trusted the process. Like, I literally wrote this. I wrote, she trusted the process, the unseen, the unknown, even when she was scared. And I wrote, I need to learn to do that.
Girl, you are doing that.
Well,
it's not need to learn. You are living that.
well,
You 5 years ago, you jumped onto a podcast with a friend you hadn't seen in many years and just decided, I'm going to be a podcaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now pretty soon you're going to be jumping out in the editing world.
Yep. Yep.
Girl,
And it just,
you are living it.
thank you. Thank you. And it was just such a moment of, holy crap. Sometimes you just have to do it scared. And I know we say this all the time on the show. Hell, I've said it to other people. I've said it to myself. But for some reason, you know, the alignment of the stars and the moon and whatever, and the strength of Linda's words, like, really just brought that up in me. Like, that's something I have to revisit, right? And I didn't expect to get that.
You never know.
From this book. I swear to God, I didn't expect that to come up. But when I say that I'm in awe of you and Linda and other people who've gone to the Peace Corps, I totally mean it, because that is not something I could have done. I mean, even though you say that you left after 11 months, okay, yeah, but you stuck it out for 11 months. I don't know that I could have done that, especially at, 22, 23, 24. I definitely don't think I could have done it. And so I just have this amazing respect for both of you and for other people who've done stuff like this. I just think, God, it's just such an amazing thing. And then to immerse yourself into a culture that you are not familiar with at all. I mean, because I can only tell you so much in your training, right?
Yeah.
So I just
not even the tip of the iceberg.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I am bowled over by all of you who do that. So I just respect to all of you who do it.
Yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome.
What came up for me, there was a lot, and I've been kind of writing about these things all along, but her motivation, she said in the book that there was nothing left for her. Nothing was going on. She needed to get away and do something new. For me, it was a little bit different. And I remember my mom saying after I came home that I kept saying, why not go in the Peace Corps? I have nothing to lose. Right. That was my big thing. Why not go? And my mom was amazed by that. She said, you had so much to lose. You could have lost your health. You could have.
I didn't think about that.
There were Peace Corps volunteers. There was one who died in a motorcycle accident, not the year that I was there, but before me. There's a lot to lose by going to another country. And I didn't see it that way. In some ways, I was kind of a reckless teenager, even though I was in my 20s. One of the things that came up for me in reading Linda's book, The Geography of Desire, for me was a desire that I wish I had been more savvy as a 24-year-old. I wish I had been more politically knowledgeable. I didn't know Senegal I didn't know what I was walking into. I wish I had known things that I didn't know. And I wish I had been able to be more present in my body while I was there. These are things that some of these things I'm just learning since you and I started podcasting about my detachment, about how I have detached from my body over the years. Didn't know that when I was 24 and I was in the Peace Corps. And so I had some regret about not fully being present in my experience and not being mature enough in my experience.
Yeah.
And I realized that Linda, didn't write the book as a 24-year-old. I realized she wrote it in her present age, which does add a lot more wisdom to the story. But
of course,
just her description of her picking out her project and people should read this book. I really love, even if you're not interested in the Peace Corps in particular, it is about a journey.
Yeah.
And I just wish I had been more present in my own journey as a young person. And for me, the Peace Corps was the beginning of that opening that now has been all of the modalities that we've done over the years, including the beginning of the podcast, but also the holotropic breath work, but also my work with Karabatar, and also my work with White Crow. All of these things stem from that very first thing that happened in the Peace Corps that built upon each other to get me where I am today. And maybe Linda got more of her opening and awakening by staying. For me, it was a long process through titration. And I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but I did reflect on it, and I had some longing, some desire, some angst, some envy, some real envy about her ability to stay and her success in staying and her insight into her life from staying. I wonder, had I stayed, would I have cracked open and done a lot of the work faster? I don't know.
Yeah. Like I wonder, how would I be different if I had gone to the Peace Corps? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I just honestly,
you are. I remember the doctor saying in our training, and then I'll wrap up. I remember him saying, many of you will not be here in a few months. Yeah. That was like the first, just like professors do when they're
like in law school. Look to your left, look to your right. Yeah.
Many of you will not be here.
But y'all won't be here at the end.
And there's truth to that, right? Like the path isn't for everyone. Clearly it was not my path other than the time that it was. But I do have a niece named Jennifer living in Dakar, Senegal, and someday I hope to meet her in person.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I really, like I said, I love that you all have that experience to hearken back to, and just goes to show things affect us.
They do.
And maybe not when and in the way that we think they're going to.
No. And I feel very emotional after having read her book.
Yeah.
I do. I feel very emotional. So it's a lot to process for me. Great book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda, for writing this book. Y'all pick up this book.
Pick it up.
Yeah. The Geography of Desire, a Memoir of West Africa by Linda Gambill. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend.
Or you could leave us a comment and a 5-star review, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com.
Thanks, everybody.